He is a powerful smurf gifted with the ability of precognition. He has stopped many a war or invasion that would have threatened Ultramar even before they happen. Nothing escapes his all-knowing mind and unblinking eyes. He is known as Brainy Smurf. Varro Tigurius, Chief Librarian of the Ultramarines. This is Bruce and Studs, and once again, Psyker Week continues with this new action figure that has been released by JoyToy. Who is this action figure? Well, you already know by the title. His name is Chief Librarian Tigurius, and there is really nothing to do except to get right down to his review. The unveiling. Ooh, very nice. Lifting the lid. We interrupt your regular scheduled programming with an important announcement in that I have actually partnered up with Flimatoy to bring you your plastic crack needs. And I'll be honest with you, I have been using Flimatoy since day one of this channel. They have excellent customer service. Do you remember that video in which I reviewed the Broken White Scars action figure? Well, they're the ones that actually sent me a replacement action figure with no cost whatsoever. All I had to do was take a picture of the broken action figure and they sent it to me with no questions. And do you want to really be waiting for your action figures that long? I didn't think so. So these guys' turnaround times are between 7 to 10 days, and that is lightning quick to get your action figures stateside. So make sure to use the referral link down in the description below of this video, and make sure you use the code SNS at checkout for 12% off. I just want to let you know this does not add on top of the pre-order 12% off. This is only available for figures that have been already released. So now, back to your regular scheduled programming. All right, we have Chief Librarian Tigurius in front of us, and we're going to feast our eyes upon this lovely Psyker. And the first thing that we're going to focus on is actually not the face, but actually the very interesting horn skull that is sitting right atop of his psychic hood. So, as you can see here, the horn skull is a very bleached bone looking color, and it has been highly detailed with the eye sockets as well as the horn areas. And then down here you have a metallic red color with this hood. Now looking at the cowl itself, the cowl is a very dark blue, as you can see, and then it has these psychic nodes that are popping up. I'm surprised that JoyToy didn't put blue on the tips of the nodes like we've seen on Mephiston's character. Moving on, we're going to take a look at Tigurius's face, and the face area is festooned with a bunch of wires that are running in the back of him, I suppose to amplify his psychic powers. And there is a wide variety of different colors to provide some contrast. Then as we are taking a look at Tigurius's face, you can see he's also channeling the power of the warp because his eyes are aglow with the blue background and then the white foreground. And then with the recesses of his face, there is some light shading that is within the creases. He's got a frown as he is concentrating on wielding the warp. However, his lips are actually nicely done in that you can see the very thin dark pink and then the whites of his teeth. Now, moving on from the head region, we will go to the pauldron. And within this pauldron, you get to see the same skull that is up top, now transferred to the right-hand side of him. So you can see on the scroll, there is some shading in the recesses of it. And then once again, the skull is heavily weathered on the sides of it. However, I will have to say on my action figure, looks like JoyToy was a little bit too aggressive with the shading, mainly because you get to see too much black that has bled outside of the nostril area. Flipping around to the other side, you see a nice Ultramarines chapter symbol with the same gold skull, and there is no visible shading on the skull portion itself. Once again, like Mephiston, Tigurius likes to wear gloves on his power armor, and there is some light highlighting that is all throughout the whole entire glove, as you can see on the highest ridges of these gloves. Progressing on to the center portion of Tigurius. Just like Mephiston, you have these hoses that are running from the side of the action figure all the way to the backpack, and these hoses are nicely shaded to give a bit of contrast. And what's also very interesting is that he has an inner silver hose that is flanking the yellow ones. Now, taking a look at Tigurius's middle section, you have a winged skull with an Ultramarines U that is in the back of it. However, the shading is actually noticeably missing on the tabard portion of this action figure. As we saw in the Dark Angels ones, there was some heavy shading that was in between these recesses. Moving on to the middle portion, what do we see again? Another horn skull. Surprise, surprise. And then below the skull, you have a bunch of purity seals that are dangling down, which is very interesting. And then it is very nice that these purity seal ribbons are heavily shaded. On the side of this horn skull, there is a bunch of keys that are hanging down. There is a generic looking tome with a purity seal that's hanging outside of it, or probably this is a bookmark. And then the pages of the book are heavily shaded as well. Beneath the purity seals is the loincloth. And once again, the loincloth is very clean looking. You do see a darker tan bone color in the recesses of this, but is very faint. Flipping this area up, let's take a look at Tigurius's knee as well as shin section. You have the Ultramarines U on the right-hand side, and then, wow, once again, another horn skull that is very reminiscent of a ram's horn. And then beneath him are 3 lightning bolts that are coming down. The ram's horns do have a little bit of shading in between. It's very light, but there is no shading or highlighting whatsoever with the lightning bolts. And as we take a look at the back of Tigurius, there's really nothing much to see back here, except that he's got some hoses that are running from the top of his arm all the way down to his wrist area. So we're going to put him down, and we're going to take a look at his cape. And the inside of his cape is a bleached bone looking color, and within the recess of the capes is a darker tan color. You get to see a symbol that is emblazoned on the sides of the cape. As we flip it around, there's the characteristic lovely JoyToy red, and within the recesses of this red are darker shaded portions, which is a very nice contrast to the red. And take a look at the rod of Tigurius where he channels all of his powers, and this is a very, very large rod. And surprise, surprise, what do we see? Another skull with the ram's horns on the top. The shading and the weathering is very prominent on the top of this. It mimics the weathered pattern of the bolt rifles that we've seen all the Space Marines wield. Progressing on down, there is an Ultramarines U that's on top of this laurel right here. And the laurel is actually very nice looking in that there are light yellow highlights on the tops of the laurel, and then within the recesses of it is a very dark green. So this is very nice looking. And then progressing down, there's a purity seal that's flowing. And then within the shaft of the staff, there are a bunch of psychic runes that are running up and down the whole entire portion, which is very cool and stands out in contrast of the gold of the staff itself. And the final thing that we're going to look at is Tigurius's backpack. The backpack itself on the bottom, there's really nothing that is different about it. The difference is his personal banner right here. So the personal banner, you have, once again, the Ultramarines U. And then on the banner itself, guess what? More ram's horn skulls. And then beneath the ram horn skull is probably Tigurius's tome that is hanging down from his belt. There is a lot of heavy shading with this tome, especially within the spine of it, as well as the scrawling letters right here. And then finally, you have Tigurius's banner, which actually is not printed, but it actually is recessed within the plastic, and it is very nicely done in my opinion. And flipping around the back, of the banner, there's really nothing much to see, except that there is actually shading within the deeper recesses of this banner. Oh yeah, before I close, it appears that you need to pop out the arms to actually put on the cape of Tigurius, and you need to lift up the hoses and kind of thread this thing through on both sides, because this cape is supposed to run literally in the back of the backpack. Here I am futzing with this thing to make this thing work, and looks like we have Tigurius's cape properly positioned, and now we need to put on the cape by popping the arms back in. So popping the arms off is actually not that much of a big deal, and then we're gonna pop in the other side shortly. And now Tigurius is wearing his cape very nicely. So that concludes Tigurius's in-depth review. Let me summarize what I think about it in my final thoughts. And Psyker Week continues with the finished review of Tigurius. So let me know what you think of Tigurius in the comments section below based on my review. I will give you my 2 cents on this action figure here. Once again, this is a special character. This is a librarian. I love Psykers, and they are #1 on my list in the Warhammer 40K universe. So, what is there to like about Tigurius? First of all, the rod of Tigurius, again, is unique to him with all the iconography that is festooned on him. The face sculpt, once again, is going to be unique to Tigurius as well. And the thing I like about the face sculpt is that he's got glowing warp eyes that are only exclusive to librarians. And I think that the other decorations on Tigurius is very unique too. So do I think this action figure is well worth your hard-earned dollars? And I would say yes. Once again, Tigurius is one of those special characters that you gravitate towards because he is the Chief Librarian of the Ultramarines. So yes, I do highly recommend you to buy Tigurius. So closing out, this is Bruce and Studs. Members of the chapter, thanks for tuning into these action figure reviews so religiously every single week. I appreciate every single one of you and your support that you've been giving me as well as this channel. And because of you, the channel is slowly blowing up, and I am very humbled by each and every single one of your support. Unsubscribed viewers, I am glad that the YouTube algorithms have brought you to me. And just to let you know, this is the type of reviews that I'm going to be giving you. Really in-depth looks at these action figures where I spend exhaustive detail because I want you to make a well-informed decision before you pull the trigger on these very expensive action figures, whether they're going to be worth your hard-earned dollars. So once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.